What's going on, good people? How's everybody doing? Hopefully you are well on this We All Need Some Help Wednesday. Trust me, guys, I get it. I get it. I get it. Listen, if you are jumping in by replay, my name's Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a coach, and I want you to share this out to as many people as you possibly can. I'm going to talk to you guys real quickly about some tips that's going to help you with your strong-willed child. Shanice, what's up? Colleen, what's going on? Tiana, hey, how's everybody doing? Y'all do me a favor, share this out. I am not going to be long, guys. I got a ton of things on my plate. Hey, Tom, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Going to talk a little bit about it. I need y'all to chime in because I don't have anybody set aside to do any scribing for me. So if you can put these things in the chat, that would be really, really dope. Whoever would like to volunteer, I appreciate it. Good to see you, Shanice. So I'm going to give you guys 3 quick tips. Guys, let me just say this while we're allowing people to come in the room. Hey, Colleen, I understand the struggle. Now, it has been a minute since I have actively had to parent teenagers or actively had to parent toddlers or young children. But here's what I know. Those principles don't change. And what I know is that the struggle is real. The struggle is real. And as a coach, I get to work with parents who are going through this today. And so I get it. I've got 2 granddaughters. Both are strong-willed in their own right. What's up, Joe? Good to see you, brother. And I get it. So I want to help you guys out. I was reading an article earlier today. I follow quite a few people when it comes to blogs and all this kind of stuff because I'm constantly probing and trying to figure out who's doing what and what are things people talking about and how is it working for them. But I read an article, if you don't follow the Military Wife and Mom, it's a blog on Facebook, you need to. This lady is dope. She knows her stuff, and she really, a lot of the things that she talks about, I really subscribe to. After being, when you become a parent, you get to know who's successful and who ain't. Does that make sense? You figure it out real quick. Her name is Lauren Tam, Tamm, and she wrote an article on her blog called The Military Wife and Mom, and she talked about 5 different strategies or highly effective tips for parenting a strong-willed child. Now, I've read several books. I've obviously parented my own kids and that kind of thing. But one of the things that I know is that sometimes things happen differently in real time and in your situation. How many of y'all know? Look, just because it happens to you don't mean it's going to happen to everybody. Or just because this is working for one person doesn't mean it works for everybody. But what I want to encourage you guys is that I'm going to challenge your perspective in the next few minutes, and I want you to hear the spirit of what it is that I'm saying. Now, do me a huge favor. For those of you all who are in the Hampton Roads area, we're doing a live workshop on Saturday over in Suffolk, Riverbend Church. It's called Fixing Broken Fences, and we're going to talk about boundaries. I know in my first book, How to Raise a Man, Not a Mama's Boy, in this first book, I really kind of break down a whole bunch of boundaries and what it looks like to put up certain boundaries in the lives of you and your children and how that will actually help you instead of hinder you. And a lot of people have trouble. I want y'all to hear this very quickly. Many people have trouble parenting strong-willed children because they themselves are not disciplined. I want y'all to hear me, and I'm not throwing shade. I need y'all to hear me, guys. When you are a person that's not disciplined and you don't have a structure to your own personal life, it makes it difficult to parent properly, but it makes it almost impossible to parent strong-willed children. Let me tell you why. Because strong-willed children are going to rail against any system. The problem is when you don't have a system, it'll almost drive you bananas. I mean, it will make you say stuff out your mouth that quite frankly ain't even should be said, especially the children. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree. If you agree with that, say, look, that's me. Give me a high 5. Put a 1 in the chat. If you say, look, my kids, they making me say stuff that I shouldn't be saying. Like that should not come out my mouth. But that's because a lot of times parents are working in a situation, guys, where quite frankly, they don't have an effective system that helps them do what needs to be done. Alicia, you already know the struggle. So listen, I'm going to jump into these tips. If y'all ready for the tips, say I'm ready. Put ready in the chat. Put the word ready if you're ready for these tips. If you're ready for these tips, put the word ready in the chat. I'm not moving until I see the word ready. Until I see the word ready. Okay, I got a whole bunch of ones. People are saying, look, I'm feeling you, Glenn. Thumbs up. I get it. Donetta, good to see you. Tiana, I see it. I see it. If you are ready, I need to see the word ready. Okay, great, Alicia. I appreciate that. So there are 3 things that I'm going to go over today that's going to help you to better parent. Listen to me very carefully, guys. Those strong-willed little kids. Before I give you those 3 things, there's one thing I want to tell you that you have to understand. Most often when you're dealing with a strong-willed child, you're dealing with a little leader. I'm going to say that again. In many cases, when you're dealing with a strong-willed child, you're already dealing with a child who has some natural tendencies towards leading. Now, I don't necessarily believe that leaders are always born. I believe leaders can be made. But I do believe that there are certain skill sets, there are certain attributes, there are certain traits that people are born with that makes it easier for them to become leaders, if that makes any sense. That's not this particular broadcast, but I could unpack that in a myriad of different ways. Well, when you are dealing with strong-willed children, guys, you have to understand you're dealing with children that have a natural born tendency to lead. They just have qualities that when they get older, if those gifts, talents, and skill sets and things that are in them are nurtured, they're going to become leaders. I promise you. Now, here's what many parents do, because that generally pushes against what you think, what you know, what you may believe as a parent. You will a lot of times buck against that. And so the picture is that this 2-year-old is telling you all the what fors, what he or she gonna do and when they gonna do it. I ain't doing this and I ain't doing that. Well, if you grew up like most parents, you saying, oh, no, you ain't. You ain't telling me, well, look, I'm the parent. And y'all have seen all the little funny memes and all that. And, you know, if you grew up in the ghetto, your mother said these things or whatever the case may be. And that is, you're coming against this child as if this child is an adult. I'm going to say it again. You are talking to the child. You're trying to reason with the child as if they're already an adult. My son's strong-willed, let him straight out of my house. Right. Because at that particular point, Alicia, a lot of times what happens is it's just easier, right? And I know your situation, but many people will just say, you know what? You got to go. And I know that's not necessarily where you were, Alicia. But if you're not careful as a parent, you will allow your kids to come out, and that's going to take me to number 1. You'll allow your kids to leave before they've learned. Number 1, I want you to understand, in order to be able to parent a strong-willed child effectively, you're going to have to learn to lean. Put that in the chat. L-E-A-N. Lean into the behavior. Don't leave it. I'm gonna say that again. Lean into the behavior, don't leave it. Let me give you what I mean when I say that. When I say lean into, oftentimes as parents, particularly if you grew up with old school parents like I had, they taught you by example to just, let them either leave them alone or push them out of your presence. And here's how that looks. I ain't gonna have all that back talk. You ain't talking to me any old kind of way. Let me explain something to you. At this particular point, you're not leaning into. What you're doing is that you're causing the situation to become so toxic that somebody's going to have to leave. Either you're going to have to leave the room or they're going to have to leave the room, because at this particular point, it's about to be a battle up in there, and you're talking to a 5-year-old. I'm trying to tell you, I know what it is. You talking to a 5-year-old, and you about to punch him in the mouth. Go ahead on and say it. I know it ain't the right thing for parents to think about, but you thinking about punching your 5-year-old in the mouth. That's crazy, right? Well, the reason why is because what you're doing is that you're not leaning into the difficult behavior. Let me tell you what I mean when I say that, guys. When you lean into the difficult behavior, you're going past what's logical. You're trying to get this kid to understand logic, and children won't understand logically until they become adults. It's the frontal lobe. It's not developed. It won't fully be developed until they're full-fledged adults. And so when you leave them to themselves, what you're doing is that you're in essence fortifying their situation. Does that make sense? So here's what I want you guys to understand. Instead of ignoring the behavior, sending the kids to the rooms, escalating the situation yourself, I want you to go straight into the difficult behavior, and I want you to begin to engage them. I want you to engage them from a perspective of wanting to understand. So let me make sure I'm clear on this. You don't want to move, and you don't want to do this. Can I ask why? And now I know this don't make sense. Listen, do me a favor. You ain't even got to put it in the chat talking about that ain't me. That's why you having problems. So if you just not going to listen, then you go head on to the next live somewhere. And I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. So I want you to lean into the behavior, and I want you to consider where they're coming from, because there is a critical factor happening with your child that you're unaware of. The sooner you become aware of what the issue is, I promise you, you can get to resolution. So we said there are three things. Number one, I want you to lean into the behavior. I don't want you to leave it. I don't want you to send them away, go to your room, you acting all like that. No. We're going to talk about this. What's going on? What's happening? You change your tone. You've asked them to pick up their room, and then, no. Really? I'm going to go sit in the middle of the room. At this particular point, pull up my chair, because I'm just going to take 30 seconds, because I'd rather do this than hurt somebody. And I'm just going to sit in my chair, and I'm going to say, so, what's going on? What's happening? I'm asking you to do this. What's the problem? I'm leaning into. Does that make sense? So number two, put a number two if you're ready for the number two. And put my chair back. Put number two in the chat. Number two. If you're ready for number two. So we said number one. What's up, Camille? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Number two, I want to see a number two before I go on. Number two. Number one, we said we want you to lean into the behavior. Don't leave it. Don't leave the child to themselves. Don't make them feel crazy. Don't get into some argument. Don't let them bait you into something ridiculous. I want you to lean into, figure out what's going on, and I want you to talk to. Number two, I want you to look. Say look. Put that in the chat. Look. While you're leaning in, you're going to look for the hidden message. There's a message going on in there, guys. I need you guys to understand that all behavior, generally, especially with children, carries a message. Behaviors carry messages. Unless somebody is certified by the government, delusional, sociopath, they got real legitimate health problems mentally, I promise you their behavior has a hidden message. This is with children. It's also with adults, but oftentimes there's a hidden meaning to why it is that they're doing what they do. I appreciate you putting that in the chat, Colleen. I want you guys to understand that oftentimes children, you got to remember, have three basic needs. Number one, they have a need for power. Number two, they have a need for experience. And number three, they have a need for connection. I don't have time to unpack all of that. But the reason you want to look for the message is because you're trying to figure out, does your child feel like that they don't have any control over anything that they do? They have no control over any of their decisions. And so the way that looks is you've been going about all day long. You done had this child out the house. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's now 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The kid is wore out. They've been going from store to store to store, doing whatever, right? And then now you want to now shut them down from doing what it is that they want to do. And you're wondering why you're getting pushback. Often this times it's because they feel like they are powerless. And so now they have come to the conclusion, doggone it, I'm tired. Now, I know that you don't think a 7-year-old should get tired. I know. I know you don't think a 10-year-old should just be done. I know. And where we came from, guys, you certainly didn't say that out your mouth, right? But how many of y'all know it's 2018? Let's get over the fact that this ain't 1979, that this ain't 1984, that this ain't 1992. Let's get over that. Because the truth of the matter is that these children are exposed to more things than we ever were at the ages that they are. And so I want you to understand is that children have a need for power. They need to feel like they're in control of some things. They have a need for experience. That means they want to discover things for themselves. They have a need. Children actually learn through play. I remember when my son went to pre-K, the name of his pre-K was called Play and Learn. That was the name of it. It was in Annapolis, Maryland, Crownsville, Maryland. I never will forget. I don't even know if they still exist. But they were called Play and Learn. Why? Because at that age, children have a need for experience. They gotta touch stuff. That's why they always come in the room touching stuff, touching this. And look, guys, y'all already know. Look. They see this beautiful, ooh, shiny, nice mic. Now they want to bite. You can't. You're not supposed to bite that. Put it in your mouth. Get that out. Get that out your mouth. Why are they doing that, guys? Because listen to me very, very carefully. The truth of the matter is they have a need to experience things. What's up, Shalitha? Good to see you. Good to see you. So we said number one, 3 tips on parenting a strong-willed child is number one, I want you to lean into the behavior. Don't leave it. Don't just ostracize them, send them to their room while they all upset and all that. Figure out what's going on. And when you are leaning in, I want you to take a look. I want you to take a look, and I want you to look for the hidden message. And the hidden message has everything to do with, are they out of control? Do they feel like they're powerless? Do they feel like that their experiences are being trampled on? They don't get a chance to touch it and feel it and interact with something on their own. And number 3, is there a connection issue? Because children need to experience a connection. They need to be wholeheartedly connected. And when they're not connected, a lot of times they will just stop and demand, I want connection. Can I tell you that some children are acting out because they want your attention and they have been starved and they've not gotten it, not to the level that they need it, and they're going to get it no matter what. That's what it's called, mommy, 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 mommy. Mommy, 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 mommy. And you're like, what? I'm going to change my name. You get what I'm saying? Because at that particular point, guys, what's really happening is that they're looking for a connection. When children are connection starved, a lot of times they will absolutely act out. When you see kids who are content, sometimes that's their temperament. But if you dig a little bit further, you probably will find out, guys, that their parents regularly give them connection time. The last thing, say number 3, and we out of here. Say number 3. Number 3, if you're ready for number 3, put a 3 in the chat. If you are ready for number 3, put a 3 in the chat. We said number 1 was lean. Number 2 was look. And what is number 3? Come on. I need a 3 in the chat. Come on, give it to me. I need to see the number 3 in the chat before I give y'all number 3. Y'all ain't paying it. Okay, Shanice, thank you. So now, the last one, guys, is listen. Listen, listen, listen. Now, I'm going to bring it in for a minute, and I'm going to help you guys understand. When I say listen, I don't mean listen to respond. I mean listen to understand. That starts when children are tiny. If you can train yourself, I want y'all to catch this, to listen, to understand where your kids are coming from. By default, you're going to train them to become adults who listen. I think one of the primary reasons that, and myself included, I just went through a whole thing with my wife this afternoon. Trust me, we're going back. We had a misunderstanding, and it's because, quite frankly, I wasn't listening. And the more I think about what we talked about, and she probably can overhear me, I'm saying, you know what, babe, you're right. I wasn't listening. Because at this particular point, my feelings are hurt, and I'm listening to respond. When you listen to respond, I promise you, in most cases, you'll be wrong. Because you're not hearing the real issue. And so with children who are acting out, oftentimes, I can tell when I coach parents, and I see that they have a teenager who's acting out, I can almost, without it beyond a shadow of a doubt, find that the teenager feels like they're not being heard. Now, I'm not saying that you're not listening. They don't feel like you're listening. Guys, you know the difference between people who are listening and people who are not listening, because when people really listen, they actually receive what you say. And when they receive what you say, what happens at that particular point is kind of miraculous. It's called change. So the behavior that you're after begins to come to fruition. In other words, they switch gears and they change. And so now it goes to, oh, I get it. You're feeling rushed because we just got here and I'm telling you it's time to go and you done got all the toys out. So how about we do this? Mommy can give you 5 minutes. If I give you 5 minutes to play, do you think you'd be ready to pick up after that? They don't know what 5 minutes is, so they're going to say yes. Yes, mommy. No problem. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 5 minutes on my watch, just 5 minutes. And when it goes to zero, it's going to time to pick it up, right? And so when the 5 minutes go, I'm going to go wash my hands, go to the bathroom, do whatever. 5 minutes going to come and go. I'm going to show them the zero on my watch. And you know what they're going to say? Time's up. It's time to go. Now, they're not going to feel like it, but you more than often will get them to comply. And here's what I need y'all to understand. It's more important to get them to comply than to get them to feel like it. You just need them to move. Am I right? Say yes. Am I right? You need them to move. Well, if you teach and train your kids that when you are listening, you're listening to understand, the reason that they move is because they trust you, not because you're in authority. I'm going to say that again. The reason why you're able to get your kids to move is because there was a connection made and they just trust you. That's the reason why I can come into a room sometimes and get a child to do something that their own parent can't even get them to do. Because there's a trust factor that they have with me right away. Because it's how I approach them. Now, what I know is that they're around the parents all the time. And I get that. You get what I'm saying? The truth of the matter is that they grow accustomed to the parents' sort of behaviors and consistencies, all that kind of stuff, me included. I'm not absolved from that. I was on the same spectrum. But somehow when somebody else comes in who's not sort of predisposed to all that, they'll trust them because I'm going to come in with a particular outcome in mind. I'm coming in to listen, to understand, really, what's going on? Talk to me. And it's funny because if I got my grandkids and there's other kids in the room, I'll say, come on over here. Tell Pop all about it. And I'll just be quiet. Why are you crying? Well, tell Pop all about it. That takes me 30 seconds. They've fallen out. Oh, what's going on with that baby? Come on over here. Tell Pop all about it. What's going on? What's happening? And at that particular point, they're like, I wanted another piece of cake. Oh, you did? Well, here's what's going to happen, okay? Mom said you couldn't have cake, but you know what? No doesn't mean never. So you can't have cake today, but I bet you there's going to be a time where you can have some cake. It just won't be right now, okay? So it's time to go, okay? And they'd be like, oh, okay, but maybe later. Maybe later. I just want to get them to move. Let's get them to move. Does that make sense? So guys, I just wanted to help y'all out. I feel, look, we were in our parenting group last night. We have a online relationship academy that we bring people in. If y'all want to be a part of that, the website is in the description, www.thecrcoach.com. But every single Tuesday night, we do a group coaching environment for parents. We do it for couples, 2 different times. And we talk through this stuff. And I was just walking away this morning feeling a little some kind of way about the pain that some of my parents was going through with some of these strong-willed children that they're dealing with. And we talked about some things, but I said, you know what, let me bring this extra piece, hopefully just a little bit more that will help you. Tasha, thank you for jumping in the room. Nikita, I appreciate you chiming in. Y'all do me a favor, share this out to as many people. And for my folks that are in Hampton Roads, this coming Saturday, the 21st, we are doing a workshop. It's called Fixing Broken Fences. Go to thecrcoach.com. It's in the description. Click the link, find out more about it. Space is extremely limited. We're almost at capacity, but if you want to come, please come on out because we're going to teach you how to erect healthy boundaries. Part of the challenge with many parents is that you don't know where a boundary is supposed to be erected, and even if you do, you don't know how, and even if you know how, you don't know where to put it. And so in that particular case, you got a boundary, it's up, but it's in the wrong place. You get what I'm saying? Or your timing is just off. So at that particular point, what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time and we're going to just teach you what that looks like. And here's what I know about boundaries. When you have them in your life, you have freedom in your life. Whether that's in couples, whether that's in parenting, whether that's in your dating relationship, when you have a life full of boundaries, we call it margin. It spells freedom. I appreciate that. Lisa said, thank you. See you Saturday. I know that's right, Lisa. Y'all do me a favor. Sign up. Be a part of that. www.thecrcoach.com. Lacey, you are absolutely welcome. Guys, let me tell y'all something. This 2018, we got to do something different if we want something different. Stop with all the, well, back in my day. Guess what? You ain't back in your day. You have never been 16 in the year 2018. It's a different day. It's a different time. Let's do something different so that we can have a different outcome. Make sense? I hope I could help. At the end of the day, we always like to leave off by saying hashtag we all need some help. Y'all have a good one. We'll talk soon.